morning everyone. Today I will teach you how to make this stunning towel topper. It's really easy to do and it can go over a pipe or onto your oven rail. It attaches with snaps so you can easily make more towels and just snap them on. And I've got this beautiful succulent border and I'll show you now. Just clip this in. There you go. And we've got this beautiful succulent border that I've attached. Now this is just stitched onto a white canvas fabric. You can use 100% cotton, any fabric of your choice. So let's see what we will need to make this project. You will need, of course, one big white button, that's for the top, and some thread to attach it. You're going to need 4 sets of snaps. I've got these cute little heart snaps, but any shape will do. You need 2 pieces of lace for the top and the bottom. You need your towel, of course, your hand towel or your kitchen towel. You need your design stitched out onto fabric, and I've just trimmed it about 1/2 inch on the top, and I made sure that it is wider than my towel, so just a little bit wider. We will trim it off as needed. And then you need 2 pieces of fabric for your towel topper. I've got this beautiful print. It's printed on Panama cotton. It's printed here in South Africa, so unfortunately I can't give you a link where to purchase, but you can use any fabric for your top as well, depending on what you like. Now I've hooped 1 layer of cutaway stabilizer, as you can see, and I'm going to use batting. Now this is optional, you don't need to use batting if your fabric is nice and thick. I like the quilted effect. I've got this quilt pattern that goes on top, so I like to add a little bit of bulk in there, and that's why I'm using, but it's a very thin batting I'm using, quilter's batting, just to give it a little bit of bulk in there. So first of all, you're going to stitch the first step that will show you the placement, and then we'll add our batting and we'll stitch the second step, and then I'll show you how to trim. Okay, so the first step was that placement step directly onto the stabilizer. You can see it there. And then I've added my batting and I stitched the second step. So if you don't want batting, you can just skip these steps and go directly to your third step. So I'm going to trim away my batting around the edge. This is just to avoid having any batting in your seam allowance, which makes it turning it inside out a breeze. I'm now going to add my top fabric that I want to show on the front there. And I'm just floating this on top. You can use some 505 spray just to keep it from slipping if you're worried about that. Otherwise, just place it down. You can even use some pins on the edges and then stitch the next step, which will be your quilting step that follows. With the quilting all done, as you can see here, we're ready to add our next piece of fabric, and this time we're going to place it face down over the entire area. It's now going to stitch, leaving an opening at the bottom, and then we'll trim it, we'll turn it inside out, and then I'll show you how to assemble it further. We're now going to remove it from the hoop. So you can see it's a very fast stitching design. Really not much to it. And I'm going to use my pinking shears to just cut out so that it turns easily. And where the opening is at the bottom, I'm just leaving a little bit of a tail. Cutting close to the stitches, be careful not to cut through your stitches. At this stage I'm just going to press it quickly with my iron. It just helps the stitches to pull nice and tight before we turn them inside out. If around these corners you feel this pinking shears didn't come close enough to your stitches, you can always just go back in there and just notch those, just so that that corner turns beautifully, and also around these corners and at the bottom. You can now turn it inside out. I like to start at the furthest end there. I'm just going to pull this through the hole. And these bottom corners as well. This is quite a stiff fabric. It's almost like a denim fabric, so it turns a little bit more difficult than thinner quarters cotton would. But I really like the print, so that's totally worth it. And you can use something sharp now at the bottom just to push those corners out. And I'm now again going to give it a good press, making sure that all my seams are neatly outside. And I'm going to fold these long flaps at the bottom. I'm just going to fold them inward. And you can either hand stitch your opening close, you can use fabric glue to close that opening, or you can machine stitch. If you machine stitch, I would go all the way around just to neaten it off so you don't see those obvious stitches right at the bottom there. So let me give it a good press and I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to use this Prim, this is a glue stick, aqua glue. You can see it's a yellow glue, and I'm just putting a little bit of glue right there on the opening. It goes on yellow, and then as soon as you press it, it dries, and it dries clear, so you won't see it at all. But it will even last through washes, so it's really a great little, you can see there, Prim. And I'm just going to press this again so that my glue sets. And there you go, folks, this is your topper. Isn't this a beautiful print? We're now going to add our snaps, but I think let's finish the towel first and then we'll do all the snaps at once. So for the towel, I'm just placing my design where I want it, and it really doesn't matter, there's no rule how far up or down. You can place it right at the bottom if you wish. I like to leave a little bit of red here, so I'm just going to mark and make sure that I have it nice and even. So I would say that one I marked about 8 centimeters from the bottom. I'm just going to pull this one down slightly so they are both the same. And I'm going to just place the pin on my towel so I can see where I need to place it, so it's not through the panel that I've stitched. And I'm going to do the same on this side, so I have a guide there where I want my fabric. Now first we're going to fold this. It will look a bit awkward. I hope I am on camera here. it will look a bit awkward, so I'm going to place my design flat like that, and I'm going to pin it from this side. But then I'm going to turn and I'm going to stitch from the other side. So just to remove your pin before you start, and I'm going to just sew right next to this. I kind of like this reed edge showing. You can see on this towel, for example, I've got this little reed edge showing there. So I kind of like that. So I'm just going to sew right next to it from this side, and then we're going to fold it over and do the other side. So I'll be back after I've stitched that down. Okay, right, folks, so you can see I've stitched it down and I'm folding it over, and I just gave it a press with my iron just to set it there. And I'm going to come over to this side, making sure it's nice and flat, and then I'm going to fold it over inwards to see. I'm just going to take my fold outward and make sure it's flat, and then just finger press it for now, making sure I've got that little reed edge standing out. And then I'm going to pin, but I'm going to lift up my towel, and I'm going to pin from the bottom, so I only pin the underside. I'm going to do the same on this edge, so I'm just lifting it up here, sticking my pin in from underneath and pushing it through. And when I've got those two pins in place, I can lift this and I can stick in my other pin in the middle, just to make sure it doesn't move. With the pins in place, I can now open it, and I'm again going to place it under the machine and stitch right next to the reed. With my strip in place now, you can now add your lace on top. Now don't worry about these fuzzies here, because we're adding lace and we're sewing it down there and there. It won't unravel, so it will be totally fine. Now I'm first going to take my first piece and just fold it over about 1/2 inch, deciding where I want it, place it down there, leaving the reed edge exposed again, and then taking it down. And at this stage you can see it's way too long, so I'm going to trim it down. Fold it inward, and then just put a pin through. And I'm going to stitch right onto the edge here, and I'm going to do the top and the sides as well. And then I'm also going to add at the same time the bottom section. All done. Our towel is in place, and we can now fold it. And I'm going to fold it about, I would say, 2 inches, 1.5 inch over. And I'm going to give it a good press. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. Just about 1.5 inch, and I'm going to press it in place there. With our towel neatly ironed, both edges about 1.5 to 2 inches inward, I've marked the center, as you can see there, and I'm now going to find the center of that. It doesn't need to be precise, I'm just going to eyeball it, and I'm going to fold it again towards the center there. So I'm basically creating a fold and another fold there, and I'm just going to pin that, and then I'm going to do the same with the other side. So we're basically creating a fold and another fold. Sorry, I'm busy doing molds, and I've got some plaster of Paris here on my towel, but that will wash out. Okay, so when you're done, you basically have that fold there. And this gives a neat fold to the front. If you see, it gives this basically double fold. Just make sure that when you finish folding and you put your towel topper over, that it still falls within that section. So I'm now going to just stitch with my sewing machine the top, and then I'm going to about 1 centimeter or half an inch below that, I'm going to do another stitching. That is so that we have a flat area where we can add our cam snaps through. There you can see the double stitching I've just done. Now you can gather this as well. You don't need to do the folds. I just like the fold a bit better than the gathering, and it's a little bit easier and less effort. So just cut off those strings. And we're now ready to add our snaps to our towel. You can already see what it's looking like. Okay, so let's add our snaps. What did I do with the other die? There it goes. Okay, so you need 4 sets. So we're going to need 1, 2, 3, and another one for there. And then the opposite 3 is going to go in there. So on the top here, we need 1 in the middle. And you need to decide where you want it. So I'm just placing my towel flat, adding my topper, and deciding, okay, that one I definitely want in the middle there, but how far do you want it up? Okay, and then I'm going to make a hole. So the middle one is the most important one. Let's say just above that line. And I'm pushing my way through, and then adding my little snap. And then the other side, I think this is the die that's in there. Yes. And I'm just going to push it in place. Now with the first one in place, you need to decide where the other one goes. So you can either first do these, but if you don't want to swap dies the whole time, just make sure you got them in. It doesn't need to be perfect placement at this stage. I'm going to do one in that corner, and I'm just keeping that stitch line there. I'm keeping my eye on that so that I have all my snaps nice and even. And then the last one. And then we need one for the top here. Now you can either, if you want to, you can make a buttonhole and use your button to push through, but I feel it's easier to open the snap than trying to unbutton something. So the button is really just for decoration. It's not doing anything. So I'm just going to use a snap. I'm going to push through center here. add my snap on top. And this one is going to be hidden, so you really don't need to use a fancy snap here. Okay. Now I'm going to change out my die. Now we're going to see where the opposite one goes, and I'm just looking at the bottom, seeing where I need to make my hole. Make the hole for the bottom one, and this one needs to push through from the back. There you can see it snaps in place and it can go over, so make sure when you first measure and make sure that it can go over your oven handle. Now we need to do these three. Now the first one we know was in the middle, and so I already marked my middle when I did my folds, so I'm just going to place this one in the center there. Oops, and I got it wrong way around, so I need to take it out quickly. Okay, so remember the hearts need to go. So I got this one wrong way around. I got this one wrong way around, folks. Just hold on a moment for me. I'm just going to remove it with this removal tool. It's quite hard to remove once you've got them in. Okay, after we have those three, we're ready to do this one. And first measure your oven or wherever the pipe you want to have it go over, and make sure you got it low enough so it's long enough there. And we need to add our first snap here. This one goes from the bottom, and I've already marked where I wanted them. And I need to do the top now. Just going to swap out the die. This one goes from this side. So that it can close. We now need to add our snaps to our towel. I've added my first one. Just need to swap this out again for the other one. And I'm first going to, after I've done the center one, I can push that in and I can see exactly where the others need to go. And then the last one. You can kind of feel it through the towel. There you go, folks, it's all done. You can now add your decorative button to the top, or you don't need to. It's really up to you if you like it. I like the fact that the white balances out at the top, and I've used reed thread to again pick up the reed from my towel. And I've got these large buttons, and I'm basically just taking it and sewing it over my snap in place using a normal needle and thread. So folks, I hope you enjoyed this. I will do this off camera. I hope you will enjoy this project. It's really a quick and easy project to do. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're not subscribed yet. And remember to click on the little bell so you are notified whenever we have new tutorials available.